The lights hit like lightning when the Frost Hour theme music faded. Cameras glided over the glossy studio floor, catching the audience's eager faces. Every lens, every breath, was pointed toward the sleek desk where Liam Frost, talk show titan, adjusted his tie and smiled with the precision of a man who'd done this 1,000 times. Across from him sat Cara Dune, the breakout singer-songwriter whose newest single had exploded online for its raw, confessional lyrics. The label had warned her to keep things light. Liam's producers had whispered, "Make her open up." Both sides were ready for a spark, they just didn't know it would start a fire. "Cara," Liam began, voice smooth. "The world can't stop talking about your song, Glassheart. Some say it's your masterpiece. Others say it's revenge." Cara's half-smile didn't reach her eyes. "I call it storytelling, Liam. People hear what they want." The audience chuckled, sensing a hint of tension. Liam leaned closer, fingertips pressed together. "But come on, you wrote it right after your breakup with that producer." Her jaw tightened. "We're not doing that today." "Oh?" His brows lifted theatrically. "Fans want honesty. And honesty doesn't mean public autopsy." A few gasps rippled through the crowd. The camera operator instinctively zoomed in. Close up, perfect drama. Backstage, Tessa, Cara's publicist, mouthed, "Stay calm," from behind a monitor. She knew Liam's pattern: flatter, poke, then twist. He'd built his reputation on drawing out tears, apologies, or viral quotes. Liam smiled like a hunter scenting movement. "I'm only asking what your listeners already suspect. Isn't Glassheart about betrayal?" Cara inhaled sharply, voice low. "It's about self-respect. Something interviews rarely allow." The audience murmured, half impressed, half uncomfortable. Liam sensed he was losing control of the narrative. He chuckled, masking irritation. "So no heartbreak? Just empowerment?" "Maybe both," she replied. "Maybe neither. Maybe you're trying too hard to make a woman's pain sound marketable." The studio went still. The control room blinked red warnings on their boards. Someone whispered, "Cut to break." "Cut now." Liam ignored them. "Cara, no one's attacking you. But you built a career on drama. Shouldn't we talk about what inspired it?" Cara tilted her head, eyes flashing. "You mean who inspired it?" He smirked, sensing an opening. "If you'd like to share, I wouldn't." The next silence felt heavier than applause. Even the air conditioning seemed to pause. Cara folded her hands on the table. "You know, Liam, I've done enough interviews to recognize the moment when conversation turns into provocation." He shifted in his chair. "I'm just doing my job, and I'm doing mine, protecting my boundaries." Her tone wasn't angry yet. It was calm, clear, precise, the kind of calm that precedes thunder. Behind the scenes, a producer hissed, "We're losing the segment," Tessa whispered. "Let her finish this on her terms." But Liam, pride pricking at him, went for one more push. "Boundaries are great, Cara," he said lightly, "but the world pays attention when you bleed a little. Isn't that part of being authentic?" She blinked, disbelief flashing across her face. "Did you just say that out loud?" Laughter broke from a few audience members, uncertain and nervous. Cara leaned forward. "Authenticity isn't pain for entertainment. Liam, maybe it's time your show learned the difference." For a heartbeat, their eyes locked. The classic shot that every highlight reel would loop later. Her fiery glare, his stunned expression, light glinting off the microphone between them like a blade. The stage manager waved frantically, signaling a commercial cut. Too late. Cara unhooked her mic, set it gently on the table, and rose from her chair. "I think we're done here." Liam's mouth opened, half protest, half panic. "Cara, wait." But she was already walking off the stage, heels striking the polished floor in perfect rhythm, posture straight, head high. The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent, so they did both, a scattered storm of applause and whispers. Backstage, chaos. Crew members scrambled, producers shouted into headsets, and social media staffers typed furiously, already drafting hashtags. Tessa caught up to Cara near the exit. "You just went viral," she said breathlessly. Cara didn't stop walking. "Good, maybe they'll finally listen." "Listen to what?" Cara turned, her anger cooled into resolve. "To a woman who refuses to be reduced to sound bites." Then she pushed through the door into the corridor, away from the neon glow of the studio and into the colder light of reality. Behind her, the Frost Hour logo blinked on the monitor, frozen mid-broadcast. Outside, the night air hit like relief. Cameras would chase her soon, but for that brief moment, Cara Dune breathed. She hadn't planned rebellion. It had just arrived naturally, like truth breaking through static. Her phone buzzed, a dozen missed calls. Messages already flooding in, but she ignored them. Somewhere in the distance, she heard sirens, the hum of traffic, the heartbeat of a city that was about to talk about her for weeks. She smiled faintly to herself. Let them. The Frost Hour control room was a war zone of whispers, static, and disbelief. Red on-air lights still glowed, but the energy had shifted from showtime to damage control. Producers barked into headsets, assistants ran scripts no one was reading, and Liam Frost stood frozen behind his desk staring at the empty chair where Cara Dune had sat moments before. The director's voice cut through the noise. "We're in commercial, 2 minutes." Liam blinked, still processing what had just happened. His throat was dry. She just walked out, on live TV. He forced a laugh that didn't sound like him. "Well," he muttered to the floor manager. "That was something." "Something?" The man's headset crackled. "It's already trending, Liam. Clips are everywhere." In the hallway, Cara's publicist, Tessa, was pacing near the elevator, phone glued to her ear. "Yes, I saw it," she snapped. "No, we're not releasing a statement yet. The footage speaks for itself." A pause, then quieter. "And yes, it's good. Trust me. Controversy trends." The elevator doors slid open, revealing Cara standing inside with her coat half on. Her eyes were still sharp, adrenaline running high. "You should have let them cut to break," Tessa said, walking beside her. Cara didn't answer. The elevator's hum filled the silence. When the doors opened again, a swarm of flashes greeted them. Paparazzi, fans, bloggers, all tipped off within minutes. "Cara, what happened on Frost Hour? Did Liam insult you? Are you leaving the tour?" She said nothing, slipping into the waiting car like someone escaping a storm. The door shut. The city noise faded behind tinted glass. Meanwhile, inside the Frost Hour studio, Liam stormed into his dressing room. The polished TV host mask cracked the second the door slammed shut. "Get me PR," he barked. "Now." His assistant, a nervous intern named Eddie, fumbled for his tablet. Cara's clip already has 200K views. Hashtag, Cara walks out is climbing." Liam's jaw clenched. "Of course it is." He sank into a leather chair, rubbing his temples. His reflection in the mirror looked different. Tired, cornered. Eddie hesitated. "People are saying you pushed too far." Liam looked up, voice like a knife. "People love pretending they hate confrontation, but they click it every time." Still, something in his chest twisted. For the first time, he wasn't sure if he'd won. That night, social media exploded. Clips from every camera angle circulated. Cara's fierce glare, Liam's smirk, the walk-off, the audience's confused applause. For Cara Dune, Dark Frost Hour Meltdown, and Our Boundaries, matter trended simultaneously. Influencers weighed in. Fans picked sides. Edits flooded TikTok. Slow-motion cuts of Cara standing up with dramatic music. Iconic. She ended him live on air. Liam Frost should apologize. Or maybe she can't take real questions. The internet split like a stage curtain, and both sides took their places. Cara scrolled briefly, then locked her phone. She was sitting by her apartment window, city lights painting her face gold and blue. For a moment, doubt whispered, "Did I overreact?" But it faded as fast as it came. She remembered the way Liam's tone had sharpened, the way he'd smiled when he said, "Bleed a little." That wasn't journalism. That was hunger. Tessa entered quietly, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You're trending #1 in 6 countries," she said softly. "You broke the internet." Cara gave a tired laugh. "Not sure that's a good thing." "Oh, it is. You stood your ground. People love seeing someone take control back on live TV." Cara looked out at the skyline. "Then maybe it's time I stop waiting to be asked questions and start telling my story my way." Tessa raised a brow. "You thinking interview?" Cara shook her head. "No, documentary." Across town, Liam was doing his own damage control. The Frost Hour producers sat in a tense emergency meeting. PR representatives had joined by video call. One of them, a sharp woman in a gray suit, spoke firmly. "Liam, we can spin this, but you need to address it. People think you humiliated her." "I asked questions," Liam shot back. "That's my job." "Then clarify that on camera before the narrative hardens. Do it tomorrow. Own it." Liam sighed. "And if I don't?" She leaned forward through the screen. "Then your career becomes a meme." Silence fell. Liam looked down at the desk, the headlines already forming in his mind. Talk show tyrant? Frost crosses the line. He'd built an empire on control, but tonight it felt like the audience had taken it from him. The next morning, the numbers were undeniable. The Frost Hour clip hit 12 million views. Cara Dune's Spotify stream skyrocketed. Even old interviews resurfaced, her speaking about respect, about voice, about truth. Everywhere, headlines screamed, "Cara Dune walks off. Liam Frost under fire." Empowerment or ego? For the first time in years, Frost Hour wasn't the one asking the questions, it was the question. That evening, Liam rehearsed for his public apology segment. He stood before the mirror, lines memorized, tone measured. But when the cameras rolled, something in him shifted. He looked straight into the lens and said quietly, "Maybe I forgot that interviews aren't meant to corner people. They're meant to connect them." The control room went silent. He didn't plan it. It wasn't scripted, it was real. Far away, Cara watched the clip from her living room. She didn't smile, but her shoulders softened. "Maybe," she whispered. "He finally got it." Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Liam himself. "Thank you for reminding me what real conversation looks like." She stared at it for a long time before typing back a single line. "You're welcome. Next time, listen before you lead." The morning after the walkout, Cara woke to her phone buzzing incessantly. Notifications had exploded overnight. Tweets, Instagram stories, viral clips, and endless messages from fans and media outlets. She rolled over, groaning. "It never stops," she muttered. Tessa, her ever-practical publicist, perched on the edge of the bed with a steaming mug of coffee. "No, it doesn't, but this time it's different. People aren't just talking, they're listening," Cara snorted. "Listening or judging?" Tessa smiled. "Both, but you can steer the narrative this time. You decide how." Cara leaned back, staring at the ceiling. She'd spent years reacting to headlines, performing for talk shows, and letting others frame her story. "Not anymore. I want to tell it myself," she said finally. "Not through sound bites, not through interviews, but raw. Real." Tessa raised an eyebrow. "You mean a documentary?" Cara nodded. "Something honest. Something that shows why I walked out. Why I fight for boundaries, why people see strength in anger." By noon, her team had begun preparations. Cameras, lighting, and audio engineers scouted locations. Scripts were drafted, but not in the traditional sense. This wasn't about entertainment. This was about truth. Rena, the director, walked into the room with a confident stride. "You ready to face it all on camera?" she asked. Cara met her gaze steadily. "I've never been more ready. Let's start." The first scene was intimate, a quiet studio with soft light filtering through tall windows. Cara sat on a simple chair, no desk, no flashing studio cameras. Just her, the lens, and the story. Rena adjusted the camera and nodded. "Whenever you're ready, Cara," Cara inhaled. "I walked out because I realized something. Interviews, shows, media, they don't ask questions to understand. They ask to provoke, to catch me slipping, to make me a headline." Her voice trembled for a second, then steadied. "I refuse to be a headline. I refuse to be a soundbite. I refuse to let someone else define me for the world. Walking out was the only way to reclaim my narrative." Rena clicked the camera. "Perfect. Keep going." The footage rolled for hours. Cara spoke about her music, her personal life, her struggles with media pressure, and the exhausting expectation to perform compliance. She spoke about Liam Frost not with anger but with clarity. "I don't hate him," she said. "I respect the show, but I don't respect manipulation. And if someone mistakes persistence for truth, that's their mistake, not mine." Every word, every pause, every glance at the lens felt like a rebellion against years of confinement. The cameras captured not just her face but the energy of someone finally in control. Meanwhile, the media frenzy continued. Clips of her walkout were remixed. Slow-motion edits flooded TikTok and Twitter debates raged on. Some headlines were critical. Cara Dune overreacts. Was Liam Frost right? Others celebrated her. Empowered, Cara Dune stands up to host. Breaking the mold, why walking out was brave. Cara didn't read any of it. Her focus was the documentary. She wanted authenticity, not virality. As the day progressed, Tessa brought in analytics and social media insights. Cara, the numbers are insane. Millions of views trending worldwide. And the response isn't just shock, it's support. People relate to your courage. Cara smiled faintly. Good. But the story isn't about numbers. It's about respect, about setting limits, about being heard without compromise. Rena walked over with a storyboard. Next, we capture the emotional aftermath. The loneliness, the pressure, the public gaze. That's what makes people feel it, not just watch it. Cara nodded. Let's do it. No filters, no acting. Just me. They set up a scene in a small minimalist room. A single chair, soft lighting, a guitar leaning against the wall. Cara's hands shook slightly as she picked up the instrument. I wrote this song after the show, she said softly. It's called Breaking Point. Not because I was weak, but because I realized I'm stronger than the chaos around me. She strummed a few chords, her voice raw and trembling at first, then gaining power. The camera captured every nuance, the tension in her jaw, the tear forming in her eye, the defiance in her posture. For Rena and the crew, this was the defining moment. Not the walkout, not the viral clip. This was Cara showing her humanity, strength and control over her narrative. Back at the Frost Hour studio, Liam Frost watched clips from Cara's previous day. His face was unreadable, but inside a mixture of respect and unease brewed. She's taking the story into her own hands, he thought. And she's doing it better than I ever could. He leaned back, fingers drumming the desk. For the first time, he wasn't the one steering the conversation. He was merely part of her story now. That evening, Cara reviewed the day's footage. She sat quietly, replaying moments, listening to herself speak, feeling the rawness of her own voice. She smiled faintly. This is only the beginning, she whispered to herself. The walkout wasn't the climax. The documentary was. And tomorrow the world would see not just a viral moment, but a woman reclaiming her life, one frame at a time. The next morning, the world had caught fire. Social media platforms were buzzing with Cara walks out, Frost Hour drama, and you respect boundaries. News outlets ran headlines with screenshots of the viral clip. Cara standing, jaw tight, eyes blazing, while Liam froze mid-sentence. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a story. Cara, however, remained calm. She wasn't scrolling, wasn't reading, wasn't reacting. She had a documentary to finish, and she knew the world's chatter would fade. But her narrative would remain. Tessa sat beside her, laptop open. Cara, you need to see this. Your clip has already hit 20 million views in under 24 hours. Some outlets are calling it the biggest talk show meltdown of the year. Cara barely glanced. I don't care about numbers. I care about truth. The story isn't the meltdown, it's why I walked out. Tessa leaned back. Exactly. And people are noticing that. The conversation has shifted from gossip to empowerment. Meanwhile, Liam Frost was facing a very different morning. His producers convened an emergency meeting. PR specialists, social media analysts, and even a behavioral consultant crowded the studio conference room. We need to address this before it spirals further, one producer said. The backlash is enormous. The public is framing you as the aggressor. Liam ran a hand through his hair, trying to maintain composure. I asked questions. That's my job. I didn't expect her to walk out. Expectations aren't the issue, the PR head replied. Control and perception are. Right now you've lost both, he sighed. So what do I do? You release a statement. Admit the tone went too far. Show respect. And you prepare for the documentary, because she's going to tell her story her way. Liam leaned back. The reality of being part of someone else's narrative hit him harder than he'd anticipated. Cara's documentary team moved quickly. Behind closed doors, cameras captured moments most wouldn't see. Her reviewing old interviews, practicing responses, discussing boundaries, and reflecting on the pressures of fame. One scene was particularly powerful. Cara sat at a small wooden table, dim light spilling across her face. She held a notebook, scribbling thoughts, muttering sentences, testing the words. "I've been silenced for too long," she whispered to herself. "I've let people interpret my emotions, my songs, my life. But now I speak, and I speak without apology." Rena, the director, nodded behind the camera. "That's it. That's the honesty people connect to. Not the viral clip. This is the story." The public, however, didn't wait. Memes spread faster than facts. Opinion videos dissected every second of the walkout. Late-night shows joked, criticized, and praised. Influencers debated endlessly. But the unexpected twist came when former collaborators, fellow artists, and fans began rallying in Cara's defense. Social media posts celebrated her courage, highlighting the importance of boundaries, self-respect, and personal agency. The hashtags multiplied. Boundaries matter. Gaz Cara speaks. Empowered women. For the first time, the conversation wasn't about gossip. It was about principles. Liam watched some of the trending posts. He scrolled past harsh criticism to find thoughtful commentary praising Cara. Something tightened in his chest, a mix of admiration, guilt, and respect. He couldn't deny it. Cara had turned what could have been a viral humiliation into a statement. She controlled her narrative. She owned it. Back in her apartment, Cara prepared for another day of filming. She had chosen to cover not just the walkout, but the emotional toll behind the scenes. The exhaustion, the anxiety, and the courage required to stand firm. Rena set up the scene. A minimalist room, soft natural light, a small stack of personal journals, and a whiteboard filled with lyrics. Cameras rolled, capturing every micro-expression. Cara's clenched hands, her fleeting smiles, the steady intensity in her eyes. "This isn't about revenge," Cara told the camera. "It's about clarity. About showing people that standing up doesn't make you angry. It makes you human. It makes you strong." By the evening, Cara's story had reached every corner of social media. Fans were creating fan art, videos, and remixes. Some even edited the walkout with inspirational music, turning it into a viral anthem of empowerment rather than controversy. Tessa leaned back, a rare smile on her face. "You did more than go viral, Cara. You turned chaos into inspiration." Cara gazed out the window, city lights reflecting in her eyes. "I didn't want to go viral. I wanted to be heard. The rest is just noise." And in that moment, she understood something crucial. The media frenzy, the viral clips, the memes, they were temporary. Her story, her voice, her boundaries, that was permanent. The final shot of the day's filming captured Cara walking across an empty studio, heels clicking softly, gaze forward, shoulders squared. The camera lingered on her expression, fierce, calm, and unshakable. Somewhere, in another part of the city, Liam Frost watched the clip and realized he was no longer the center of the story. Cara was, and the world was listening. Weeks had passed since the infamous Frost Hour walkout. Cara Dune's documentary was finally ready for release. The title itself was unapologetic. Breaking Point: Cara Dune Unfiltered. The premiere wasn't in a glitzy theater. Cara wanted something intimate, something raw. A small screening room with a handful of journalists, close collaborators, and a few industry insiders. No press barrage, no staged photos, just the story, uncut and undeniable. Rena, the director, gave Cara a reassuring nod. "This is it. Everything you've said, every frame, it all builds to this moment." Cara inhaled deeply. "It's not about them. It's about me, and anyone else who's ever felt silenced." The lights dimmed. The opening scene was a stark montage of her life. Touring, recording, interviews where her voice had been edited, moments clipped and misrepresented. Then came the footage of the walkout. The room grew silent as every detail played. The tension in her shoulders, the glare that could pierce glass, the crisp heel clicks across the studio floor. Gasps, whispers, and subtle nods spread through the audience. It wasn't shock. It was respect. The documentary didn't stop at the viral moment. It explored the aftermath. The personal anxiety, the media frenzy, the pressure to respond, and finally, her reclaiming control. Cara spoke directly to the camera, her voice calm but powerful. "I walked out not because I was weak," she said, eyes glinting with conviction, "but because I was done letting someone else define me. And if that scares people, good. Maybe they'll rethink how they treat others. Her words resonated. The journalists scribbled notes, the crew exchanged impressed glances, and even the skeptical industry insiders leaned forward, drawn in by the raw honesty. Meanwhile, clips from the documentary began circulating online almost immediately. Social media erupted. Hashtags surged. Breaking point Cara Dune. Unfiltered and strong. Cara takes control. Fans celebrated, commentators debated, and other artists praised her courage. The viral walkout had been a spark. The documentary was the wildfire. Even Liam Frost couldn't escape the coverage. He sat in his office watching clips of Cara narrating her story. His expression shifted from unease to reluctant admiration. She had taken the moment he once controlled and transformed it into a powerful statement of agency. In a private message, Liam reached out. "Cara, I've watched the documentary. I respect what you've done. Thank you for reminding me that interviews aren't about catching someone off guard. They're about connection." Cara read the message. She didn't respond immediately. She paused, thought carefully, then typed a simple reply. "You're welcome. Next time, listen first." It wasn't vindictive. It wasn't passive-aggressive. It was final. Boundaries reinforced. Respect reclaimed. The documentary's release had ripple effects beyond social media. Media outlets praised it for being courageous and authentic. Interviews with Cara now focused on her creative process, her music, and her perspective. No provocation required. Brands, collaborators, and artists reached out, drawn to the clarity and honesty she had displayed. Invitations to perform, speak, or mentor came in, all recognizing her not as a viral moment but as a strong, independent artist with a voice that mattered. Backstage at a small concert hall weeks later, Cara prepared to perform a new song inspired by the entire ordeal. The stage lights washed over her, the microphone waiting, the audience buzzing with anticipation. She looked out at the crowd, fans waving, phones recording, hearts ready to feel. She closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the walkout, the viral chaos, the documentary, and the journey that brought her here. When the first chord struck, it wasn't about drama. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about truth, resilience, and ownership. Her voice rang clear, filled with emotion, strength, and freedom. Every note told the story of a woman who refused to be silenced. Later, after the show, Cara stood backstage, exhausted but radiant. Tessa approached, eyes wide with pride. "You did it. You turned what could have been a disaster into something monumental." Cara smiled softly, leaning back against the wall. "It wasn't just about me. It's for anyone who's ever been told they can't speak, that they have to sit quietly, or that their anger isn't valid. I didn't walk out. I walked forward. And in that forward motion, the world had finally caught up to her. The headlines faded, but the impact remained. The viral moment was now history. The narrative, however, was hers. Fully, completely, and unapologetically. The night ended quietly. Cara stepped outside, city lights reflecting in her eyes. She felt the weight lift, the tension dissolve, and a new chapter begin. The walkout, the chaos, the viral frenzy. It had all led here. And now, she was in control of her story.